trying to believe in yourself and trust in yourself and trust in your journey and trust where you started. A lot of people don't notice you at the start, but at the end, they scramble for what you did at the start.
Welcome to another episode of Bench Talk. I'm your host, Tom Gerrard. This week, I got a bit of a different episode for you. I'm sitting down with Sarah Hook from Fletcher Arts, who's a private art dealer. I came to pick her brain about some, I guess, how artists work with private art dealers and the role of the private art dealer in this day and age. How you going, Sarah? Welcome to Bench Talk.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
Pleasure. So, how'd you get into art, and how did art dealing enter your life?
Into my life. I actually grew up amongst artists as a little girl. My father was on the board of Heidi Art Museum, so I grew up amongst some of the Australian greats like Fred Williams and Sam Fulbrook, and sat on the floor of their studios, and so it was intrinsic. It's in my DNA. So I actually grew up learning how artists tick and think, and just the nature of them, which really helps now because, being a dealer of fine artists in Australia, I get a really good, quick insight into them quite fast about how they're thinking and ticking. I also studied art at BCA, painting. So I understand technique and understand where artists are coming from. I understand what a difficult job it is. And it all just sort of started to come together. I think that I can't live without artists, because they're builders and creators, and it's a pretty nice thing to be around, as a job.
Totally. Yeah. Well, it's the same from the artist point of view. Like we need people like you to work with, because there's a lot of roles for the artists to do. And I find most artists are great at tapping into the creation part of their work, but then when it comes to the business side and the selling and stuff, it doesn't always come so easily. So, to have people like you around to work with and make things happen is, it really works. It keeps the art world moving, keeps it going.
Yeah, I hope so. The trick is to, as you said, to keep it oiled.
Exactly.
It's not a one-stop shop. There's just many, many moving parts in the art world, and we've all got to work together and make sure that we've got each other's backs and work from there.
Yeah. So, like, what type of clients generally come to you, like, looking for artwork?
I started working with lots of clients. I started working with, I've been working in the arts for 15, 20 years. Initially, it was just clients when I had galleries that would come in and meet with me and talk with me. But now we've honed it. And now that we've got the practice we have today, is we deal mainly with architects and property developers, interior designers, and select personal clients. So we do it privately. Or we do shows, which we do twice a year, which is the next one coming up in October, the end of October, in 2 weeks, next week. Sorry, clearly I'm doing lots of artists. That's more like a show where Select invites, and we have a big celebration of all the artists that we work with and all their new works, and yeah, it's really exciting. It's very organic, but it's very exciting.
Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that. You've got the 3 days, 30 artists exhibition coming up. As you said, this week, next week. It's a really interesting concept and way about putting on an exhibition, because it's in your own house, and you get the artists to all install artwork within your house, and then you invite people over. So it's a very in situ way of viewing artworks. And but also, as you said, you work with interior designers and furniture makers and all sorts of people. So you have a lot of it's I guess it's a very different experience because people are buying art for their homes. So, and when you're standing in a gallery, it's very far from a homely feeling, unless you're in an installation where they've deliberately done that. But yeah, I find this is a very very unique way of showing art. Have you been exhibiting in this way for a long time, or is this new?
I think in theory, yes. Even in when we had galleries which were open to the public constantly, it was still a blend of antiques and furniture and art. It's what I've always done, but bringing it privately back to the showroom that is actually my home is not a new concept. It's something that is done a lot overseas by dealers because they want to really make sure the time they use is utilised on the artists that they're looking after and working with, rather than offering a big cross section to whoever that walks in, which is beautiful as well. But a lot of us sometimes we need to pay the rent, so we need to actually get it down to a situation where it's refined. It's a more refined model, and also it gives me more time to spend on the artists I work with and dig deeper.
Yeah, yeah. Because there's like a big, I guess there's a big role, curating all of that as well. Do you just curate from within the artists that you work with, or do you look outside the that group and invite new people in when you're doing this?
As in the artist?
Yeah, do you invite new artists in, or do you only work within, like, I guess, your stable of artists?
The artists are always changing constantly. There's always a steady group I've worked with, but there's always new ones coming in. That monitoring of new artists that come in is a process in itself because it has to fit the model. And I kind of see it like a team in a way. The new artists that come in that I've decided to take on and we've found a happy relationship with each other is really exciting, but it's constantly changing. There's not just a stuck model. It can't, because art's not like that. It's fluid. There's always new happenings and new finishes. So, it's never stuck like that. And then artists might move on or hopefully not, but sometimes stop their career. So, yeah, it's a beast that constantly is moving.
Yeah, that keeps it exciting as well. At the same time, lots of movement.
It's so
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah,
It is totally exciting to be in this industry. Is so hard and difficult, but anything wonderful is. But it's also, it's terrifying because you don't know what's happening next. You don't know the art market, what it's doing. It's all over the place at the moment, but it's still you can't do anything else. And often I say to artists when I start working with them is could you do anything else? And if the answer is absolutely not, then I kind of know, we've got something going.
exactly. Yeah. When you're looking for new artists, like what is it that you're looking for in an artist? Because I know like a lot of artists are trying to get in with galleries, but then galleries are their own beast to get in there as well. It being this is a different like avenue, it's sort of different area to work with interior designers and private art dealers. How would an artist get into that world?
Yeah, I don't think you seek to find artists. I think that you find the right relationship. You find what feels right. It's organic. It's very hard to explain. When you view a new artist's work, number one, the artwork needs to trigger you in some way. Don't know why. It's emotional response. It's something that you feel you want to really own yourself. Beyond that, because hopefully that leads to authenticity when you're selling it. If you look at an artwork and you say, oh my God, I really would love to have that artwork myself, then when you're then discussing that artwork to a client, that authenticity and that, genuineness will come through. So that's super important. The second thing is, I believe, actually really liking the artist. It sounds simple, but I think we discussed that the other day, didn't we, Tom, about it's like any relationship. Your dealer or your gallery, it's very important that you have respect, you have communication, you understand where each other's coming from. If there's any compromise, you talk it out. if you've got new ideas and new thoughts, you're someone to have a chat to, a friend. So that's where it comes from, because if you don't have that, there's no substance. And that's the basis of all art, is having this grounded substance, because if, it's a gravity. And if clients or anyone doesn't believe in that or feel that, they're not going to believe you, or they're not going to believe the art. So it's storytelling, and that's where it comes from, I believe.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Another thing you do really well is you pair artists together. Like I've just completed a painting of a Buffalo Lounge designed by Ross Didier that you paired him and I together to paint this custom lounge, and it was a really unique experience. And I've never worked directly with a furniture maker like in that way before, and it's really interesting sort of merging two worlds, because I noticed even when we're sharing it on social media and stuff, his following is completely different to mine. Whereas if you get two artists, there's usually a lot of overlap and everything. Where it was a real interesting way of introducing each other to our worlds. And you do a great job with that. Have you done a lot of like merging of different creatives?
I think one of my favourite things is, I should have been a party planner in another world, but one of my favourite things is facilitation. I'm so excited when like-minded people from different worlds meet and they find magic together. I mean, it's like giving birth in a way. That's a bit weird, but it is. It's like you're creating another being or another dimension that might not have never happened, and also you're pulling from your strengths, and someone else is pulling from their strengths, skills, and craftsmanship, and creating a base that's never been happened before. So I think that's totally thrilling. It's such a I don't know, buzz when that happens and it connects properly. It's like even with friendships. You go, that person should meet that person because they'll get along really well, and they become really great mates. And it just feels good. So it's probably self-serving, but at the same time, with you and Ross, what you did was extraordinary. It happened quite fast and it happened quite simply, and I think that's a really good message. To know that when things aren't complicated and they make sense, and you feel it's right, your gut instinct says it's right, so you go for it. And you both came from different polar opposites, and I remember ringing you and you're on the beach and going, "Oh, that sounds cool. Yeah, that's great. Okay, yeah, give me the details." And then Ross is like, "Who?" And I said, "Gerrard is an amazing street artist. He's great. He's got this big practice." And Ross is like, "I don't want my sofa tagged." And then he fell in love with you, and when we came to your studio, and it was such a nice experience. And then you painting the sofa in the showroom outside, and you were terrified. Tell me about that first brush stroke.
Oh yeah, that was pretty nerve-wracking. Yeah, putting the first bits of paint on there, because you can't. It's just on fabric that's expensive, and you can't cut back or anything. So it was it was a bit nerve-wracking. But once I was quite confident in what I was doing. It's just the first few brush strokes. It's like, oh, this better work out. And then there's always a little dip in the middle of a painting as well, going, oh, is this coming together? But had to just keep going. It came out well. That's the main thing.
But you also changed your approach, which you did quite quickly within the first 15 minutes, looking how it was in 3 sections, right? How you looked at it and you walked around it and you thought, oh, how do I do this? It's going to take forever. And you changed your approach very, very quickly about how you'd approach this. And when we're talking about how artists successful, but how they become professional in their approach and how they work as a true job, is that you need to think very, very smartly about your time as well as your practice. It's a job, right? And you realise straight away that you need to approach this furniture piece in a way that is not just piece by piece, but paint colour by paint colour. Is that right?
Yeah, totally. I put them up there, and I was going to do one at a time, and it was in 3 pieces. And I thought, well, this is like making 3 paintings. And then I thought, if I got them all set up and I could just walk around and do all 3 in one go, it's like just doing one large painting. And I like to work like a screen printer. So it's like one color at a time and just layer it all in. And by the end, it's all done when you've gone through all the colors. The
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
always
But I
fun.
thought it'd be easier than doing the same process 3 times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
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 But that showed great insight.
Thanks. You got to think on your feet. I knew I'd be there for a week. Otherwise, it turned into 2 days instead. So,
That's it. Yeah. You do
yeah,
need to think on your feet. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But so with working with artists and their pricing, like when artists come to you and they've got their prices, do you work with them in like maybe establishing their prices a bit more if you feel that they're not in the right place, especially if they're underpricing themselves, I guess is probably the easiest way of looking at it.
Um, Absolutely. I would tend to think overpricing is the main point in this situation because artists get so much advice from different galleries or different people, and especially in the way I work, because I'm not exclusive, most of my artists I work with are showing in different galleries or have different projects. So the number one thing is that the price is consistent wherever they show it. Especially in this day and age, or it should be anyway, from honesty, is people do their homework. And if a client sees a different price point from one, from an artist, but from one point to another, or a different gallery to another, it's only making everyone look like, not being true. And so consistency is absolutely important for respect for the client and everything. So that's what I say. So if you're selling it directly from your studio, if you're selling it through, this gallery, if you're selling it through that gallery, the price has to be consistent. You swap and change. The other thing is that you can't overprice. You can't go too high because you can never go backwards. If you go backwards, my father always told me that he was, he was a money man, but he was into the arts as well. So, I had a good start. Is that artists can never drop their prices. Or you can, but then that opens a whole can of worms. Was it too expensive before? Why are you on sale? So, I always say it should be worth your time. What you've put into it is also, where you are in the market and you're in your career, and inch yourself up slowly. But respect your clients who have bought before. Don't bring your price down. That's not fair for people who bought before. And you'll lose those clients if you do so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Yeah, and I find I find a good trick for artists as well if they're trying to work out where their pricing should be is to sort of do their homework and work out who they're on the level playing field with as far as lots of other artists, because I'm sure they can make a list of 20 artists who you feel you're on par with. And if you go to their exhibitions, I collect price lists from exhibitions from artists who I feel like I'm on par, or if some are a bit ahead or whatever, just to sort of get a gauge for where I feel I should be sitting. And I think it's a really handy thing when it comes to pricing your work, especially if you start playing around with a new medium or a new scale or things like that. Like even for instance, this sofa, we've been working on pricing that, and like I know how to price a canvas, and I know how to price a mural, but I don't know how to price a painted lounge. And it
Neither
comes
I.
with
It's a
all
new thing.
yeah. Yeah, and it comes with high manufacturing costs. There's other people involved. Everyone wants their fair share. So there's so much to I guess pricing is it's a sensitive subject, and it's one to
It's
not be
very sensitive.
overlooked. And
Yeah, it is
especially if
very
you
sensitive.
underprice yourself and you find yourself selling well but not having enough cash to live properly, like
Yeah, you've got
that's
to be very.
a big sign there.
It's a big sign there. So if you're selling well and you can't still pay the rent, then it's time to inch up and to have a good talk to someone you trust through your gallery. Don't do it on your own, is my opinion. Get a broader perspective of it, because sometimes you could be emotional. So this could be happening, and you decide to price it at a point, and you do a couple of sales, and then you're sort of at that point. You can't move from there. You can, but you need to stay there or go upwards. So it is a very highly sensitive point. So I'd say talk to people you trust in the art market. Just don't overprice because, as I said, you can't go backwards.
Exactly.
It's like
Exactly.
you're selling out.
Yeah.
In the moment you put your work up for, I've had this conversation with a couple of artists. It's like, having a clearing out sale. I'm like, oh my gosh, don't do that, because the moment you do that, or you've got a sale, you'll never be able to sell your works at the proper value they are. Yeah.
Hey artist, it's Claire here from the Art Career Academy. If you've been creating for years and you know it's time to go all in on your art career, then Tom and I are here to support you. If you're ready to grow your visibility, build more consistent income, and step fully into life as a professional artist, that's exactly what we help with. Our signature program, Going Pro, is designed for artists who are ready to up-level. We support you with the clarity, confidence, and a solid plan to turn your creative practice into a thriving career, without the burnout or second-guessing every move. At the Art Career Academy, we're all about raising up the art community and showing what's possible when artists back themselves. So to get started, grab our free Creative Cashflow cheat sheet. It's packed with 20 tried and tested ways to make an income from your art. Head to artcareeracademy.com to download it now. Okay, let's get back to the episode.
I find as well that there's a thing with current practicing artists. It's not all of them, but there has been some of them I've seen that consider like older paintings like dead stock or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm clearing out this older stuff. But if you look at like art history, like paintings are meant to go up in value in age, whereas if they're collecting dust around the studio in an artist's mind, they can be going down in value. But I think it's something that needs to be considered from an artist's point of view.
Artworks aren't fashion, are they?
No.
That has a use-by date fashion. It's really quick. So artworks have a story, and stories get told at different times throughout your life, and they come up, and what's fashionable once isn't again. So never ever think that something that's old that hasn't sold is not valuable.
Totally.
Look at Van Gogh.
Yeah.
So, and that comes back to artists, which is a really difficult thing, is to really trying to believe in yourself and trust in yourself and trust in your journey and trust where you started. A lot of people don't notice you at the start, but at the end they scramble for what you did at the start. So, don't ever do that, because you're undermining yourself and undervaluing yourself. And once you do that, everyone else feels that you're not worth it. Do you know what I mean? That, you believe in yourself and everyone else does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like I feel as well, like there's something that I do in the studio here, and it's like I review what I've got. And if some paintings you might become a bit attached to, but they're not like the best representation to put out there. So I sort of slide them into the archive or whatever. Or if they're unstretched, if they're stretched canvases, just pop them off the stretcher bars and roll them up and then reuse the stretcher bars and stuff, and start creating a bit of an archive. And that way, I guess they're not taking up space, and they're not like, people aren't coming into your studio and seeing not your best works. You know what I mean? It's like, I love reusing materials and getting them back out there and making sure that everything that leaves the studio is what what people, what you want to show people. Like, I don't know, think about it like you don't post everything on Instagram, or some people do, but like I only try to post my best stuff. And I keep it the same way with what leaves the studio as well. It has to sort of reach a certain level. It's not like everything I do
Of course. But can I ask
like
you, what is your best stuff? Is it stuff that you love doing the most, or is it stuff you feel that has been the most challenging technically, or what do you call your best stuff?
Very rarely the most technically challenging work is my best stuff. As you can usually see it, there might be a bit of a battle or some struggle in there, but it's usually just the stuff I like the most. And it's like music. You might like a song one day or 1 year, and then a couple of years later you don't like it as much. And it's the same with artwork as well, and styles that I've experimented with. And like I've got an exhibition in a few weeks. So I've been working on paintings for that, and I'm loving the paintings that I'm coming out with at the moment. And I usually like to, I guess, feel that my most current work is my best work, because it is like a evolution. But I still do look back on old paintings and love them. Like that one I picked up from your place, I haven't seen that for years, and or not years, about a year. But it was great to see it again, and really, really like love being reunited with old paintings.
And I think that loops back to what we talked about earlier. Is that when you go to when you I don't know if we talked about it, but when you show your work to a possible gallery, is don't just show work that you think someone wants to see, or in your head what you feel other people expect from you, because inevitably that's not your best work. Your best work is where you kind of shed some flesh and your heart's gone into it, and every gallery or every possible client will sense that. They'll feel it. So they will feel what you've put into that work, and that's a good artwork. In the out run. So always present work, always show work, always believe in work that has made you bleed a little bit, or made you feel upset or stressed or super happy, or that you're totally in love with, and you feel a little bit like, oh, I hate to let this one go. That one, when I showed you that work today that I had for a bit, you were like, oh, it's so great seeing that again. So you've got this connection and this super connection. It's just almost like it's your buddy, with this work. And if you have that, other people are going to sense that. But if you do work that you feel, oh, that's trendy or that's fashionable, it just doesn't rub, and it's not long term. So just believe in what you do and fall in love with work. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. That's why I also feel that artists, like art collectors are better off buying an artwork off an artist that they've made like off their own back instead of commissioning them. I find that sometimes commissions can lose some of that magic that an artwork that just pours out of you will have. But I know like commissions is part of the business of being an artist, especially a portrait artist. I guess they get commissioned all the time. But it's an interesting thing. I feel that I know like when you're going to get the best work if the artist just lets the artwork pour out of them. There can be a bit of guidance,
A bit of guidance, no,
Yeah.
there's absolutely. If you've got someone else in your head or talking to you, I think I sent you something on Instagram once. I sent it to a few artists about what David Bowie said. He said some of the worst work from artists come from when you're thinking about someone else, or you're doing it for someone else, or there's expectations from someone else. And the best works come when organically, when all the noise disappears. And on that, I wanted to touch base with you too. Like I think you said to me today, what's some advice that you'd give to artists in their day-to-day practice? And it's something you do, and this is something I see every artist that's professional does, is they sketch. Every single day they sketch, in a sketchbook. And that comes back to what you're saying, is that when you sketch in a sketchbook, no one's going to see it unless you want them to. No one's looking, no one's watching. It's all like a warm-up, like an athlete. You just start getting it out, and you start getting your feelings out, your emotions out, and that's before you get into your day job, you start working. So I think that every important artist in the world is always sketched. It can be a flower, it can be something you see at a cafe, it can be, a still life, it can be a nude, it can be, but it loosens you up, and it's a very important discipline, and I've always found that. And I don't think there's one big important artist out there ever that hasn't sketched, and so I think that's really important, because that is because you can approach a big white canvas and go, oh my god, like with the puffalo, you're like, oh, first strokes. But if you start by sketching, you loosen yourself up, right? Is that how you feel? Is that why you do it?
Yeah, I completely agree. I call it like sharpening the sword, like keeping the sword sharp.
Yeah.
Just it's like an athlete stretching or doing warm-ups or whatever, as you said, like just loosening up. And I just find it helps generate ideas as well, because as you said, you go to the blank canvas and it's like, oh, what do I do? But I find that through sketching, I've got at least a starting plan in my mind, and just ready to hit the ground running, instead of like wasting time procrastinating.
Well, that's it. And I also think that a big white canvas is terribly scary. for anyone it would be, and for an artist. And I think that's the more you procrastinate, the more in your head you think, who's going to be looking at this? Where's it going to go? What is it going to be? Whereas you start with sketching and no one's going to look at your sketches and it's your personal diary, it suddenly just flows from you. Yeah. So I think that's my number one advice to any artist: get yourself a sketchbook.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like I'll ask you a couple more questions before we head off. But I was wondering, with working with artists, you said you work with artists who also work with galleries and things like that. Do you work with any artists exclusively? Like you've got an exclusive agreement with them? And does that happen a lot in your industry?
It's less and less now, exclusive agreements. It does happen. I don't expect exclusivity because I feel that it's cutting the wings of artists, and I don't want that. I want artists to sort of have the opportunity to stretch and move and push ahead as they feel they need to. Having said that, there are galleries that expect exclusivity. I understand that as well, because you do spend a lot of time working on particular artists, or hopefully all your artists, which I do, is in trying to find facilitations and growth and introducing them to the right people, and that will help their careers. And then if they up and leave you, that's big waste of time and money for everybody. So I understand that you would expect an artist to commit if you're going to invest your time. But I've never done that, and in my experience, I think you find your right tribe, and you find it's about communication. Again, like any relationship, it's having that open conversation. This has come up. What do you think about this? I want to do this. Are you okay with this? And good people just look after each other. So it's like, absolutely, none of us want to cut anyone's wings. So yeah, absolutely. So it's similar to you've got a show next. What are the dates of your show?
The 6th of November it opens.
Oh gosh,
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
So which is super exciting at Lennox Street, and it's a fabulous gallery, and I couldn't be more thrilled. But you know how we're working with your Buffalo, in this show, which is week before. And the guys from Lennox are coming to this show. Is this organic? And it's a really good feel and good vibes, and we're just bouncing off each other because we all want you to, find where you're going, and we all love what you do. We all really stoked to be part of your practice as well. So that's where I come from. I'm not saying it's the right way, but I also like dealing with a lot of different people. I don't like a small closed club. So, yeah. So that's how I do it. But everyone's different, and I respect that.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that we're in a really interesting time in the arts where there's these crossroads, because it's quite an old, there's an old establishment to it and ways of doing business. And now with, even with, the digital age coming through into the art world, there's different rules and different rules that different people play by. And it's an interesting time where it hasn't really been laid out to say this is how it works. So I think it's really interesting to have really important to have good communication with the people you're working with and find out how they work, so you're not stepping on toes or upsetting people, because it can easily be done.
That's how it is. We're living in a very, very fast time where things happen very quickly, and you can get instant gratification by putting something up. But that's really not how art works. Art is slow, and art has storytelling. The story of art. Remember, did you study that at school? Gombrich? The story of art it's just all about just what it really means. It's just how we communicate. Is how art started, right? Communicating. So that's how it should be now. It's not fashion. It's not fast. So the best and most professional artists I've worked with communicate well, are consistent, turn up, and dialogue really well. And that's how all great artists through the times have done it. You could maybe sell your work for lots of money on Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. That's not going to last. It's just digging deep and being true to yourself, and, best being around loyal, good people and communicating.
Exactly. All right, Sarah. Well, thanks for taking the time to sit down and have a chat. It's been really, really informative, and it's been great to hear about like the art world through your eyes as well. And for anyone who's in Melbourne, 3 days, 30 artists for Fletcher Arts 3 days, 30 artists exhibition for Fletcher Arts is happening. When's that again? And it's invite only. So how
It
does
is
that all work if someone wanted to check it out?
Yeah. So it starts Thursday and it goes through to Saturday. Having said that, we do by private appointment for the next, up till Christmas really. So yeah, but the talks and Thursday to Saturday.